right, so I'm here with Thad Bianco from Obexer's boat company, and Thad is the chief engineer of replacing the BPM V12 with the Allison 1710. Is it fair to say that we're at least 1,100 horsepower?
That is what it's rated for.
Okay.
They tell me it has even more in it. We're slowly understanding what it's really capable of. It's got a lot of horsepower.
And we are supercharged, and we do have the Stromberg original style high altitude Stromberg carburetor on it, right?
Correct.
And then it's dry sump motor. How much oil are we going to have in our tank?
In our remote tank, we hold 18 gallons, and we have a 80-gallon fuel tank behind us, and roughly a 5-gallon antifreeze tank in back of the motor here.
And what size are those fuel lines? What diameter are those fuel lines?
All the fuel lines on this are, gosh, I have to think about that. I think they're 3/4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, she's obviously thirsty, but she's amazing. So we're going to try to just help people understand what it takes to. This is not a 350 Chevy.
This is not your average start. You have to have a little bit of aircraft experience, which I had none. But it was shown to me how to start this and how to run it, actually.
Yeah.
It is not your average engine.
And I think that's part of the mystique about the boat is it is unique, and it does take a learning curve, and once that curve is there, it's a big part of the, I think, emotional and excitement of the boat is just getting it to run and run well.
Yes, it's still a big learning curve for us, but we're getting better with it, and I mean, one day it's just going to go exactly as planned, and I can't wait for that day.
Well, we're going to start and have you walk us through what you would normally do without doing it, and then we'll actually have you go through the process and fire it off. So I want everyone to hear as if it started, go through the motions so we can hear you talk about the controls and what's relative and not. So basically, start from scratch about what your normal process would be, but without actually firing.
Okay. Pretty simple. We're going to pretend the boat hasn't run yet, so we're going to pretend that the engine's nice and cold. We would go, first step would be pre-oiling it. We want to get some oil up inside this engine, up in the top end of the motor, so that it actually is oiling itself before it starts. It's an important feature. It's just something that we have to do with this engine.
So that open the valve first? Then,
yeah, we would go to the bow, we'd open the valve. This being said valve here.
Bright yellow valve.
Yep, and I already had it running, so I'm going to actually shut it here.
So perpendicular from the line, it's shut?
Correct, yes.
All right.
Next step, we have a fuel prime pump. We have to have that on. I'm going to leave it off for a second. We're going to go key on first. This is our start toggle.
Okay.
The one right next to it is a primer. So it gives it a little shot of fuel before start. So we would do a little quick prime. Turn our aft fuel pump is the one that it's also called a primer pump. It's strictly for starting the engine. Once the engine's started, we would shut this down, and the mechanical pump on the front of the engine takes over.
And we're looking for 16, 17 pounds. We have two gauges to kind of correlate with one another, and
correct.
We're looking for that kind of fuel pressure, correct?
Yeah, they're telling me it has to be between 16 and 18 psi. We're right in the middle at 17, and we may tweak that a little bit as time goes on. We're just going to see if we can get consistent good starts out of it.
And I think the thing to understand about this type of situation, this is an aircraft motor in a marine setting. It's got a personality. The boat's got a personality. The engine's got a personality. And the more you get to know it, it's going to be unique. It's going to start, run, and operate unique to its personality. And so this is what, the 5th or 6th time out total.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's every step, every time is a learning curve.
Exactly.
Fabulous. Well, as far as what's all this going on here? What do we got here, Thad?
Okay, so let's just turn the key off so we're not just heating
Sure.
up things. Here we have just it's a quadrant out of a aircraft, and I utilized most of it for this application. So this is our throttle. Right next to it, we have a mixture control. And the mixture control is it's something on an aircraft that we're trying to learn more and more about. And it's just something, when the engine actually starts, it has to be off. But then when it starts, I have to go into the first click, which is full lean.
So for those who don't know, when you're operating carburetors, typically it's all handled without us knowing or worrying about it.
Yes.
But in the aircraft venue and in this, we've got to actually control the rich and lean, more gas, less gas.
Correct.
And so that's the purpose of that device.
Yes.
And then, totally foreign to me, I discovered just the other day, the throttle on this engine is always gradual. There's no like punching it. It's not like a car where you're racing it and it's very smooth, gradual movements.
Yeah, it's more of an aircraft, of course it's an aircraft engine, but it's more aircraft controls. So it's not just hammer down. We have to consider our speeds at 15 to 1800. We actually have to go to the next click, which is that would be rich.
Yep.
Now I'm able to go faster above the 1800 number. And this engine will turn out 3,500 RPMs. When we're above 18, we have to be in this position. When I'm below 15 to 1800, I should be in this position. And you'll know pretty quickly because the engine will actually start running rougher.
Yeah.
It'll develop smoke at the back.
And we have a massive prop on the 4-blade prop on the back.
It is a 3-blade.
3-blade, okay.
Yeah.
And then we have a slipper clutch that you're still discovering about that because there's so much torque, and this prop moves this boat so quickly at low RPMs.
Yeah.
You did install a slipper clutch that.
Yeah, a lot of people in the fishing industry, they call it a trolling valve. It's just a way of slipping the engine so that I can actually control the speed of the craft going through the harbor.
Or coming in, yeah.
Yeah, or coming back into the harbor. Otherwise, it is the boat's going very quickly.
And this is just forward and reverse and neutral, right?
That is just your standard clutch, forward, neutral, reverse.
Excellent. Okay. Well, for those of you who don't know, this boat was designed, engineered, and built by a gentleman that wanted a test bed for vintage aircraft marine engines. So they built marine aircraft engines for boats, and so it successively this boat's had Hispano Suiza, Liberty, BPM, Allison now. This is like, to me, being familiar with the boat for a few years, this is the coup de grace. I mean, this is a supercharged V12 Allison. It's as crazy and cool as it possibly gets. You don't come off of this boat without your heart not beating faster. It's pretty amazing. You've been on board every time, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel similarly?
Yeah. It definitely makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit.
But she handles really well. I mean, she's heavy and she does handle the waves pretty well, I think, don't you? And it's a stepped hull, so if you don't know what that is, you'll see the pictures underneath. We'll get her up on the steps, and she's pretty clean.
Absolutely.
Anything else we should know, Thad, before we fire?
I don't think so. I think we've covered everything. Aside from, I think that's all we need to know about the starting procedure.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm just going to step out now, and the owner's going to jump in with Thad, and they're going to go out for a run. So see you soon, and watch the video.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.